Who will be the title holder of each UFC division at the end of 2024? Today, we're going to talk about it. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some odds, going to be talking about what bets I like. We're going to go through it all in each division, guys. Before we get into it, I do want to say hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's get right into it. All right, guys, so let's start off with the end of the year title holder for 2024. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I don't know if I'm going to place a bet, maybe, just maybe, for Islam Makhachev, maybe. But this is like really, really risky. Plus, I like betting week to week personally. I don't typically bet. I know that's like a good strategy for odds and stuff like that, but I like to continue like keeping all of my money on one event so I kind of know where it all is. Regardless, let's take a look at this. So, the most likely person to be holding the title, is Shavkat Rakhmonov, which I can very well see, to be honest, but the problem is, Shavkat's injured, and who knows what's going to happen to Leon Edwards if he just wants to pull another thing. He's like, I'm not going to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. I want to go fight Sean Strickland. You know, he's going to do something like that. So I don't know how much I really want to bet on Leon Edwards there. Something that I can see, though, is the UFC pushing Ian Garry. Ian Garry, if he stomps Jeff Neal, if he keeps coming in and getting towards the title, he fights Colby Covington, then again, that's a big if for Colby Covington. So, to be honest with you, I kind of like Ian Garry. What's crazy is that Conor McGregor's here. So everybody else here, like Jack Della Maddalena, Kevin Holland, Colby Covington, Michael Page, Sean Brady, Jeff Neal. To be honest, Sean Brady did look really, really good. But we got to think about this. Leon Edwards does not fight often, okay? Leon Edwards does not fight often at all. So I am willing to bet that it's like one or two fights that we're going to see with the 2024 title. So let's say Leon Edwards is going to fight either Belal Muhammad or Shavkat Rakhmonov. It's going to be likely Belal Muhammad, which means I would imagine Leon Edwards would beat Belal Muhammad, but then he'll probably take on Shavkat Rakhmonov unless Ian Garry has an absolutely insane performance. So I actually think it's going to be between Shavkat and Ian Garry. And to be honest with you, I would pick both of them to beat Leon Edwards. The problem is Shavkat Rakhmonov is only a plus 325 right now, and Ian Garry is plus 15, which I really like. If you're going to bet, I actually would bet on Ian Garry for this division. But let's take a look at what else is down here just for fun, right? Others on request. Interesting. Rinat Fakhretdinov and Rafael dos Anjos is at the bottom. I can't believe these two are actually above Stephen Thompson, which is pretty funny. Other than that, Neil Magny, Conor McGregor, you know, you can never know if he could weasel his way into a title fight. Wouldn't shock me one little bit, but that's even having him win and keep the title for the rest of the year. Yeah, it's getting a little bit crazy, these odds, of course, but if I was a betting man for this, I'd be betting on Ian Garry, but this one I'm not going to touch at all. Let's talk about middleweight, though, guys. Who's going to be holding the title at the end of the year of 2024? Khamzat Chimaev is the most likely, which, yeah, I don't mind that, to be honest. You know who's a very, very sneaky option is Brendan Allen. I think Brendan Allen's going to be holding a title at some point in his career. The dude's been looking insane. Is it just going to be this year? That's the problem. Again, you got to take the same approach. Sean Strickland you have right now, let's say he beats Dricus du Plessis, even if that fight's coming up in a couple weeks. So we know that we're going to see probably at least two fights, maybe three, which that's like pushing it a little bit because two more fights would already be the third fight. And I would imagine you'd have to think about like 2 or 3 fights, right? That's tough because I have no idea who's even going to come out on this. So let's say, that's even assuming Israel Adesanya isn't going to 205, which is a huge possibility. Have you seen those pictures of him lately? Because if Sean Strickland were to win, if Dricus du Plessis were going to win, I could see Israel Adesanya wanting to come back and fighting that guy. But what if Sean Strickland wins? Who's next? Is it going to be the winner of Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa? Assuming that fight even happens and Paulo Costa doesn't pull out. I think Khamzat Chimaev is probably going to be the next contender. And that's a big fat if Khamzat Chimaev is going to beat both Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. I would pick him over Sean Strickland, but I don't know about du Plessis. That one's really tough. This one is really, really hard to pick because other than that, like I said, I think Brendan Allen is going to be a title holder at some point, but I don't, that betting on him on this year is pretty insane. Unless he has like a crazy performance against Marvin Vettori, gets a title shot and wins that title fight, I would actually probably pick Brendan Allen to win over all of these guys, but is Brendan Allen going to get the title shot this year? That's the big question. I actually do agree with this. I think Khamzat Chimaev is probably the most likely, but let's take a look at what else is going on here. Imagine Alex Pereira coming back down to middleweight. Bo Nickal up there, which is wild to me. Marvin Vettori, that's actually crazy. He's all the way down there for the contender that he's at right now. And Anthony Hernandez, he could like sneak his way up, but I don't know about this year. He'd have to have something like fantastic and being insanely active. So for middleweight, I do like Khamzat Chimaev the most, to be honest with you. All right, guys, let's talk about Islam Makhachev, and that's the one out of this entire video that I was thinking was going to be the most likely, because Islam Makhachev rarely fights, and he's arguably the greatest fighter in the UFC at this moment. So that's not even worth betting on. You get nothing for that. But other than that, the other candidates, of course, like, and this is where the huge problem comes, is because lightweight and like bantamweight as well is just so competitive. So many of these guys can fight each other at any point, and anyone can win. Like Benoit Saint Denis, where's he ranked right now? I believe right in around the top 15 spot. I wholeheartedly believe if you take somebody in the top 15 like Benoit Saint Denis, put him against Islam Makhachev, it would be a competitive fight. Excuse me. That's how good this division is. So who's most likely to get the next title fights? Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor beats Michael Chandler. He's a shoo-in for the title fight, right? So this is the big problem, is you don't know who's going to get that next title fight. So this division is the one that you should not be betting on at all, in my opinion, unless you're really betting on Islam Makhachev. But then again, is that really worth your money? Islam Makhachev at these odds, he's probably going to fight once. and even if he fights twice, he's probably going to beat whoever he comes up against next. If you just want value, I'm not even lying to you, I think it's Conor McGregor. I really do, because if Conor McGregor beats Michael Chandler, and I've always said that Conor McGregor, before the leg break, Conor McGregor that's dedicated, ready to go, would stomp a Michael Chandler. He's too accurate for him. Way too accurate, but the problem is we don't know if that Conor McGregor is going to show up. Probably not. Michael Chandler's probably going to stomp him. So let's say, just for the sake of argument, Conor McGregor does beat Michael Chandler. No question about it is his next fight, the title fight. He would get in over everybody. Doesn't matter what Charles Oliveira, Arman, Justin Gaethje. Doesn't matter what they do in their next fight. Conor McGregor would skip them all. So if you're not betting on Islam Makhachev, I would gamble on Conor McGregor personally. Now, guys, let's talk about 205. This one's a little bit interesting, too, because you have Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill, Magomed Ankalaev, Yuri Prochazka, Khalil Rountree, which is making a little bit of a run. I actually don't mind, hear me out, I really don't mind the chance of both Alexander Rakic and Israel Adesanya, because Rakic has every little possibility in the world to beat Yuri Prochazka. I actually don't know who I'm going to pick in this fight, but of course, Rakic's odds are way better than Yuri Prochazka's. But then again, Yuri's probably a little bit of the safer option. We got to think about it like this. Who's going to fight Alex Pereira? Alex Pereira, assuming he doesn't go and fight Tom Aspinall, which if you bet on Alex Pereira, then that would really help you out, because he would still keep his title even if he loses, and then he'll probably fight one more time at the end over the year. Something we were talking about earlier was Israel Adesanya possibly challenging the 205 belt, because those pictures of him that we saw, he looks quite big, and he said, "I lied." That was the caption for it, so we don't know if he was lying about not going up to 205. We don't know. Israel Adesanya at plus 1,700, I don't mind that. I really don't. Of course, like, all of these bets are very, very risky, but I'm just trying to think about what the best bet could be here. Johnny Walker's always a possibility if he happens to get the win over Magomed Ankalaev, but you got to think about it this way. If Ankalaev gets past Johnny Walker, which is very likely in my opinion, I would pick him all day against Alex Pereira. I think he would wrestle him to a decision, and Magomed Ankalaev does have good striking too. So I don't mind Magomed's chances at all, but then will the UFC want to match up Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev? I could see them saying, hold on, Jamal Hill, we got to wait a little bit, I could see them doing something like that, but other than that, anybody down here, poor Dominic Reyes, man, I can't believe what has come of his career. Other than that, I can't really see, unless somebody has some insane win, maybe Alonzo Menifield, if he has another fight and has a crazy knockout, I think you're kind of restricted between Alex Pereira, Magomed Ankalaev, Alexander Rakic, Israel Adesanya. I, for some reason, just don't think, even if they matched up again, Yuri Prochazka would beat Alex Pereira in another rematch. I don't know why. I like Yuri's chances against Jamal Hill, Magomed Ankalaev, Khalil Rountree. I just think that fight ended how it was kind of supposed to end, in my opinion. So, I don't know, man. That's tough. If I were to pick one fighter, I'm picking Israel Adesanya. I'm picking Israel Adesanya. I think it's most likely that he gets a title fight. And I think it's most likely that him of all people beats Alex Pereira. All right, guys, let's talk about the end of the year title holder of 2024. Of course, we have Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones, and that's pretty much where it seems to stop. Oh my God, look at these odds. Marcin Tybura. Oh my God. These are hilarious. Anyways, actually, for the odds, I don't mind Alexander Volkov for plus 67. I don't mind that at all. But, so obviously, guys, it's between Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones. Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, when they fight, we all know how that's going to go, right? So the question is, one, does Tom Aspinall end up fighting Jon Jones? Does Jon Jones retire? Does Tom Aspinall just get the heavyweight title? This is the big thing. Two things can happen. Either Jon Jones fights Stipe Miocic, retires, Tom Aspinall gets the title, and no matter who he fights next, Tom Aspinall is probably going to steamroll them, unless it's Alexander Volkov. That's really the only guy I see having a chance, because they're not going to give Curtis Blaydes a title fight. If anything, they'll probably give Cyril Gane another title fight. Tom Aspinall just has such a good chance against everybody else. Either that, or Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic gets booked. Jon Jones either does something illegal. Jon Jones gets caught for using PEDs. Jon Jones cancels the fight somehow. And then Dana White's like, guys, this is the fight that everybody wants to see. We're going to book it for January of 2025. We know you fans want to see this. So then Jon Jones would stay as the title holder, right? But if anything but that happens, but the thing is, I can see something like that happening. If anything but that happens, obviously Tom Aspinall's the answer, because Tom Aspinall's already the interim heavyweight champion. He's going to come in. He's going to beat pretty much anybody that he goes against. He'll steamroll Almeida. We've already seen the Pavlovich fight. He'll steamroll Gane. Blaydes is a tough matchup, but they already fought, and they don't want to probably give Curtis Blaydes a title fight. Alex Pereira, he would steamroll. Stipe Miocic, he would steamroll. I can't believe Stipe has that good of odds. Like, yeah, right. Volkov is the only one that I can see, okay, he could catch Aspinall. And he's better than most heavyweights. So, this is tough. I would pick Jon Jones over anybody, because even if Jon Jones beats Stipe Miocic, I think he'll sit on the belt before he retires. I think it's most likely that Jon Jones is the title holder at the end of 2024. All right, guys, let's talk about women's flyweight. This one is crazy because I was initially thinking Erin Blanchfield, because Erin Blanchfield is probably going to get the next title fight. She's fighting Manon Fiorot, and people are talking about that being a competitive fight, but honestly, I think Erin Blanchfield's just going to walk through her myself. But hey, you know what? You never know with this division. So Alexa Grasso here's the thing. Alexa Grasso's next fight might be against Weili Zhang. And that is, I don't know how Weili's going to do it that way. I'm just not convinced of Alexa Grasso yet. I think if Erin Blanchfield gets her title fight and fights Alexa Grasso, Erin Blanchfield will come in and stomp her. But who else is in the picture? Valentina Shevchenko lost a step. Natalia Silva and Karine Silva, they have awesome chances. Tracy, hear me out, guys. Hear me out with this one, okay? Tracy Cortez looked fantastic in her last fight. Fantastic, okay? The technique was there. She is a vastly improved fighter. One more win against maybe an Amanda Ribas, but then again, she might be fighting. Who is she fighting? Somebody. My apologies. It's slipping my mind right now. She might get a fight booked. You want to book Tracy Cortez, Valentina Shevchenko, Tracy Cortez versus Macy Barber, depending on what happens with her next fight. She is the type of girl that could get fast tracked to the belt. And she has skills to back it up. Does she have the skills to beat Erin Blanchfield? I'm not going to lie to you, man. I was very impressed by her last performance. And I'm thinking about the UFC being able to sell with Tracy Cortez. This isn't a bad bet, in my opinion. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to bet on this division, Tracy Cortez isn't a bad bet at all. But other than that, I would do Erin Blanchfield for sure. The odds are actually good for her. And she just looks like a killer, man. I think that she beats everybody in the division that she goes up against. I'm completely convinced of her. Now, guys, let's talk about the actual flyweight division. So, obviously, Pantoja is the most likely to hold the belt. This is a shockingly competitive division, okay? Because there's, like I was talking about lightweight, a lot of these guys can beat each other anytime, but I feel like this division does have the Holloway and Volkanovski effect, that being Pantoja and Moreno being just a step ahead of everybody else. People are really high on Mokaev. I'm not at all. I don't think he should be this much of a, I don't want to call it favorite, but you know what I mean. The odds shouldn't be this low for him. I think the odds shouldn't be this low for him. Other than that, man, yeah, Brandon Royval's not going to get another title fight. Nicolau, you never know with Nicolau, but still, Yeah, there's not a lot that I really see challenging Pantoja Moreno because both of these guys I would pick against everybody else. So the question is, Pantoja or Moreno? Well, we've seen that fight many, many times. So what does logic dictate? Logic dictates you pick Pantoja, but Pantoja is also aging a little bit and having a lot of wars. He was just talking about blacking out in his last fight, right? So I would stay away from this one, but Pantoja would be my guess for this one. All right, guys, let's talk about featherweight. And this one is very interesting in my opinion because obviously you have the greatest featherweight of all time, Alexander Volkanovski, somebody who I thought was the greatest of all time, but after his last loss, I don't know if I can say that anymore, man. But so the big question going into this, Alexander Volkanovski is fighting in what? Over a month? Maybe 2 months? He just got chinned. He's finally could be potentially showing his age. Alexander Volkanovski, we know, is going to be insanely active. I think at the very least, we get 3 fights out of him. Let's assume he wins against Ilia Topuria, and that is a big if in my opinion. Ilia Topuria could very well beat Alexander Volkanovski, but let's say he beats Ilia Topuria. 2 more fights. Alexander Volkanovski is aging. He actually does look a little bit older too. He could fight Josh Emmett if he beats Max Holloway. If Sean O'Malley wants to move up, which he probably won't. There's not many other contenders for him unless Calvin Kattar has an insane performance against Aljamain Sterling. That's a fresh matchup for him, but the problem is Alexander Volkanovski fought so many people in the division already. Who else is down here? Alex Caceres. I like Alex Caceres, man. I would love to see him get a big fight, but he lost a little bit of that momentum there. Edson Barboza, if he keeps winning, gets a couple more wins, he could sneak into a title fight, but yeah, that's tough because Volkanovski would beat everybody in the division, but if Volkanovski has lost a step, and I think it's a huge possibility, especially after you get chinned, right? Then that changes a lot of these matchups. Maybe he can't take the head kick from Yair Rodriguez. If he's fighting Brian Ortega again. He could get right back into a title fight. Movsar Evelev. That one I actually can't see him winning that, but Alexander Volkanovski is vulnerable at this point. 3 fights, and he might lose one. I think that's kind of likely. So it all depends. Does Ilia Topuria beat him or not? Because if Ilia Topuria beats him, I think Ilia beats the rest of the division. This one's tough. Oh boy, guys, I'm going with Ilia Topuria. I hope Alexander Volkanovski keeps the belt. But then again, you got to think about this. Ilia Topuria beats Alexander Volkanovski. That means Holloway gets back into the title picture. And how does that fight go? I could see Holloway beating Ilia Topuria. Man, the value is on Max Holloway. But that's assuming Alexander Volkanovski loses. But maybe we're all thinking too little of Alexander Volkanovski after the knockout loss. There's just too much of a question after Volkanovski got KO'd and his age now. That's tough, man. That's tough. I think Ilia Topuria is the most likely. All right, guys, let's talk about the end of the year title holder for the women's bantamweight division. You have just as much of a chance of picking Julia Avila, not her, actually. She's one of the worst fighters of all time. Pannie Kianzad, and Yana Santos, as you do for picking Juliana Pena. Yeah, if you're betting on this division, you might as well go with Chelsea Chandler. She has just as much of a chance of winning than anybody else because it's ridiculous how low talent and poor quality this division is. Actually, you hear me out. The most likely is Holly Holm because they'll throw her into a title fight no matter what. She could beat anybody because Pena sucks, Silva sucks, Pennington sucks. Shevchenko's a good fighter, but she's getting old. Norma Dumont actually is a good fighter, but a little bit boring. Anything can happen to this division, man. What if Norma Dumont comes in and just holds her opponent? It's crazy, man. I'm betting on Holly Holm. I like the odds for her. Now, guys, let's talk about the end of the year title holder 2024 for the male bantamweight division, the greatest division in combat sports history. For a better reason, you know how I just said anybody can beat anybody? I think Ricky Simone has just as good of a chance of beating Sean O'Malley than anybody. This division is so stacked. Unbelievably stacked. This one's tough. I could see them pushing Davison Figueiredo a little bit if he keeps winning. Okay. Here's the thing. I kind of like Sean O'Malley because I would imagine Sean O'Malley would be picky with his opponents. That's what I see happening. Maybe not because Sean O'Malley is a very, very good fighter and a very good champion. I could just very well see him doing a little bit of the Conor McGregor thing where it's like, okay, if Merab destroys Henry Cejudo, then Sean O'Malley will be like, I don't know, I kind of like the rematch with Peter Yan, or maybe Song Yadong, a stand-up fighter, one that I could really see him winning against. If Henry Cejudo wins, then he's going to be like, I can knock out Henry Cejudo. So that's the toughie. I think it all depends on whether or not Corey Sandhagen gets a title fight, which, if Sean O'Malley's champion, they're really trying to push Sean O'Malley. I would imagine they're going to push the bigger fights on him. That's not Merab Dvalishvili. Aljamain Sterling's out of the division. Maybe Song Yadong. Because Song Yadong at least can pull over from the East, or Umar Nurmagomedov, because I can see Umar Nurmagomedov keeping the fight on the feet with Sean O'Malley. And then do those guys even beat Sean O'Malley? I'd pick Sean O'Malley. I'd pick Sean O'Malley against both of them. I do think, though, that Marlon Vera is going to beat Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley does have a chance. So if Marlon Vera beats Sean O'Malley, I can see them giving Sean O'Malley an immediate rematch, because that is a huge fight, especially if it's a trilogy. And then Sean O'Malley has another chance of winning the fight. This one's tough. If Corey Sandhagen gets a title fight, if the UFC gives Corey Sandhagen a title fight, I think he's going to beat Sean O'Malley handedly. He has the best chance of beating Merab, and he would beat most of the division. Jonathan Martinez is a very underrated fighter, by the way. I could see him sneaking his way up to the top. But if I were to guess, just because of him being picky, the UFC trying to push him, if he loses, he gets a rematch, I would pick Sean O'Malley for this division. And guys, with that final division, puts an end to this video today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think about my picks down below. Do you think anybody is going to be holding the title I didn't talk about? What do you think? Let me know about what you think about each odds, if there's anything that you're actually going to be betting on. Again, I'm going to stay away from these bets myself, but I'd love to know what you guys think down below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, on the screen right now. If you'd like to continue watching the channel, there'll be 2 videos on screen for you to check out. I will see you either there or in the next video, everybody. Take care.